Please do what you can to ignore the light behind me. The point of this clip that I'm doing here, this little video, I have basically flip-flopped my attention between Project Assassin, my young adult fantasy novel that I'm working on. I've done 2 drafts of, and Project Hometown, which I had kind of abandoned for a while, but I just finished the first draft of. And now I wanted to take a page out of Stephen King's book, so to speak, where he talks about working on short stories in between novels. And I've not really done too much by way of short stories, but I do have a couple that I made boards for a really long time ago. Project Pharmacy is one. Again, this was an idea I had when I was a teenager, and it's really interesting because I archived a lot of these boards and I just unarchived them, and looking back, like, wow, you can definitely tell that a teenager came up with these ideas. But that was one. Project Pharmacy. Pack Light and the Mercantile are actually more recent short story ideas I had. Pack Light was one I started, but I didn't finish, and if I do come back to it, I'm gonna probably just rewrite it from fresh. These were kind of images that inspired what I had in mind for the story. I'm not super familiar with the craft of short stories, but it is different from a novel in the way they're structured. To me, it's more like a vignette. It's a little shot of something, not necessarily like a whole progression of tons of scenes and beats and things like that. But this was one, and then the other, the Mercantile. Well, you can tell that I was listening to a lot of Ethel Cain, I think, by looking at this board. I mean, I'm always listening to a lot of Ethel Cain. Oh, Project Apocalypse. This is actually my most recent idea. I think I was thinking it would be a novel. I feel like it might be better suited for a short story. I don't know if I have enough to say on the thematic idea I had for it to really fuel an entire novel. This was the one I was thinking I would try to do for a short story in between Project Hometown that I just finished the first draft of, and then whatever novel I work on next. I'm kind of between Project Apocalypse, this one, and Pack Light, because I kind of forgot about this one. I'm like, I think I want to do it. They're all kind of like existentially horror, a lot of my ideas for short stories. I think I'm going to decide that Pack Light is the short story I am going to be working on for this video. Let's get into that, I guess. What up, guys? It's gotta be at least like a week later. I haven't written anything. I did go out of town and stuff though. But this morning I watched a couple of videos. I watched a video by Rachel Wrights, her video about writing a short story, and I was taking my notes, and then I watched another video or two and I was like taking notes, trying to figure out what to do. I mean, I guess a short story is the same as any story. Like, there should be some structure in a way or change, because in my mind I'm like, it's a scene, but I guess it is more than a scene because it could be thousands of words. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be aiming for the length of it, so I don't know what it's going to look like when I actually try. I was going to say put my pen to a paper, but I will be putting my fingers to a keyboard on my laptop. But in Rachel's video, she was talking about basically 4 things. It's like, first you have your character in a predicament. I actually don't remember all of them, but that was one of them, and I'm trying to think. I mean, I know what my character's predicament is, but the way I had envisioned the story being, she'd already reacted to the predicament she was in. And so now she's in a new predicament, but this new predicament is kind of like just what the story is. It's like her adapting to this new thing, and you don't actually see the inciting incident. It's like the inciting incident happened off page, which is not really how stories work, I guess. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if it's going to be like a traditional structure you would think of or not. I guess I need to think about that. I keep not thinking about that. I keep like watching other YouTube videos and like vacuuming my house. and like not really actually sitting down and thinking about it. So I probably got to do that. As it is, my toaster just popped and I need to go get my bagel. But yeah, I'll be thinking about it. I'll be thinking about it. You just you wait. Okay, so I got my notebook with my little notes from Rachel Wright's video. Basically, the four things she was saying for your short story that like I guess makes up the structure. You have a character in a particular predicament, then an event that unrolls that disrupts this predicament, event peaks, whatever that means. She explains it. I'm not, if you want to watch her video, go watch her video. Go watch her video. And then final revelation changes the predicament. Like I said, it is kind of tricky because like for number 2, when she talks about event unrolls that disrupts this predicament, that's obviously like the inciting incident of the story. And like I said, the way the short story looked in my brain, it was like that was already kind of off page. But then also a different video I was watching by Book Fox talked about one of the things with short stories is first you have a scene and second you have backstory. So in a way, I feel like what I'm thinking could also make sense in that idea of things where you're immediately introduced to a character in a situation that's like I don't know. I don't, because I guess you still would want to have your inciting incident. But the way I'm thinking is like you introduce a character and then you're like, okay, let's go back a little and give a little bit of context. That's kind of what makes sense, I think, in my brain when I think about this story, but I don't really know. I haven't honestly read too many short stories in my time. I've read a couple short story collections, like The Yellow Wallpaper. Love that. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's hard because I think it's very good, but it's also got problems. But I love the kinds of stories that have regressive arcs, corruption, deterioration, whatever, that kind of thing. I live for that. So obviously my short story is going to be something kind of along that similar line. I mean, in a lot of ways it's similar to like The Yellow Wallpaper, but not really. I feel like the thematic elements are a bit different, but kind of that unraveling for sure. I mean, maybe I should just get into the Scrivener file document and then just like start writing. Now at this point I'm trying to like more clearly figure out what the theme of it is, which is basically just trying to outrun your past in a way. Like the past always catches up to you, blah blah blah. But kind of, but yeah, I need to like just sit down and figure it out. But it's hard for me to just sit down and figure it out. I feel like sometimes it's easier for me to figure things out once I've started doing something, and then I look at the mess and then I try to extricate any good or bad, figure it out once I have something already, but then that can also be exceedingly frustrating. So I think I'm going to take a couple of notes and then I think I'm going to get to it and try to write a little bit. Okay guys, update. I sat here with my notebook and my pen, so hey, I guess I am putting a pen to paper, and I made a beat sheet because I don't know. I was like, well, I could try to think about like Save the Cat. I have more so like 4 acts. It's kind of the way I think about stories in general, which is kind of similar. I mean, like Save the Cat. If you think about it as like Act 2A and Act 2B, you basically have 4 acts rather than 3. But this is kind of how I tend to think of stories anyway. Basically, part 1 is the setup, and the next is the fun and games, which these are like Save the Cat beats, but more so like the section. Bad guys close in. Again, it's like Save the Cat. And then the last being the finale. Again, like Save the Cat. I just don't have all 15 beats worked out. I have kind of those sections. And then I also determine the catalyst, midpoint, and all is lost. Those are the only real beats that I actually determined. But actually just doing this little bit here gave me more clarity as to like what some thematic kind of elements would be for the story. I mean, I already knew that it would be like what I was saying, like trying to outrun a past or outrun your life or outrun yourself, like that kind of thing, just avoidance in general. And I kind of had an inkling that maybe it would have something to do with like agoraphobia a little bit, but I feel like actually that's kind of like what this story is. I mean, I have to write it, so we'll see, but I kind of feel like that's kind of what the story is. But then also parasocial relationships. So that's just what I'm thinking at the moment. So I didn't actually figure out like scene by scene. I just kind of have a general gist of like the 4 different sections and then those like 3 beats that I talked about. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just start writing now. I don't know. I mean, I'll get a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write the whole thing in like one sitting or not. It could be something that I have a shorter draft of and then I like bulk up later. I don't know. I just got to write it and see what happens. Wish me luck. I will update you. Hey guys, it's later and I have not written anything. I have been busy. Instead of writing. I've been doing laundry. I cleaned my bathroom and other stuff, but I still haven't sat down to write. Well, no, I mean, I sit down and then I don't write. And now I'm exhausted and I want to go to sleep. Oh, my washer's beeping, so I gotta go do my laundry. I need to write. But I want to lie down. I'm also scared I'm gonna get fired from my job. I don't think I am. Well, no, there's no reason they would, but I just am afraid. um. Yeah. Okay, guys, update. I've written 84 words. 8,400, you may be wondering. No. No. 84. 84. I think I have to take a nap or something. I'm losing my mind, bro. I cannot focus. I can't. Talk more later, I guess. Hey guys, drum roll, please. It is 2 weeks later. Precisely 2 weeks later. It was a Wednesday. Now a Wednesday has passed, and it is the Wednesday after. In case you didn't know how time worked. I gotta lock it in, bro. So you see, the thing is this. I keep thinking about what novel it is I'm going to work on next. When this short story, the whole point was that it was like something I do in between working on novel projects. I hadn't decided what novel I was going to work on next, whether it was going to be draft 3 of my fantasy novel or if it was going to be a new novel I've been thinking about. And I can't stop thinking about that and not the short story, but I need to do the short story because it's just going to be a couple thousand words. Like, big whoop. I could probably do it today. I mean, I could. I don't know if I will, but I'll try. And I think it would be good to have a short story under my belt. And then I'm going to figure out what novel to work on. Actually, if I'm completely honest with you, I'm already starting to film a writing vlog. A different one. And I also filmed a whole entire different video. Actually, I think I filmed 2 different videos since beginning this video. I'm gonna lock in, and I'm gonna leave, okay? Because I think this video opens with it, like, snowing. And it is April 8th now. Wish me luck. I'll make you watch me type. So hold me accountable, okay? Please. I'm begging you. I'm just rereading those 84 words I talked about. I'll read it to you. It takes several days before I realize that the grapefruits are molding. When I first got to the motel room, I hadn't had much more than my own self. I had the fruit, I had a pack's worth of cigarettes in a mintless Altoid tin, and then my suitcase, filled only by the things I couldn't leave behind. I'd flicked the ring out the car window many exit signs ago. The right-hand ring, anyway. The left one hadn't made it anywhere near my hand. Okay. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what I meant by the left hand thing because it was like she was going to get married. Spoiler alert. That was like what I was talking about, being like her leaving her wedding was like what I was thinking an inciting incident is, but then I figured out a different inciting incident that makes more sense. But what does that mean? Can someone tell me what it is I meant by that? The right hand ring? Like, what's the context there? Did I have like some meaning that was implied? I was very obviously very delirious at that point. So, we're gonna try again. Okay. I just wanted to say that. Okay, wait. No. I do remember now because all right, I was like, what is she talking about? What was the right? So I was thinking about it. I was thinking hard about it, the whole right hand ring thing. In my delirium, I was doing some research, and in my delirium, I didn't retain it, but I retained it enough to remember it by prying into my brain. So basically, the thing is, during a wedding ceremony, the bride may wear her engagement ring, which usually would be on her left-handed ring finger. She might wear it on her right hand during the ceremony, so then when they put the wedding ring on, there's nothing there. It's just like blank and empty and available. And then after the wedding, she would probably wear both rings on the same finger. But for the sake of the ceremony, she might be wearing her engagement ring on her right hand. So in that little passage that I read to you, it meant that she got rid of her engagement ring, but not her wedding ring, because she left her husband to be at the altar. But I need to figure out how to communicate that a little more clearly for people who don't understand, like me. Okay guys, update. I have to take a quick break to go work on something else, but at the moment I've written 673 words today, which is equaling 757 words total. I am approaching the catalyst, or I'm basically started writing the catalyst, but I'm at the very beginning of that little moment. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. This is the interesting part, the inciting incident. And yeah, I'll update you later. It is quite a while later. The first draft of my short story is sitting at 4,209 words, and I am calling the first draft complete. Full transparency, I have not gone back and read any of it. I just sat there for hours and wrote it. Maybe I'll go reread it, but I'm not gonna tell you what I think of it because I want this video to be over. In full transparency, I can't believe this video has been like a lot of weeks, many weeks, and I'm so glad that I finally have the first draft of a short story out of the way. And in my head, I was kind of thinking about 4,000 words was what I was shooting for, and then I wrote it without any concern for what it might look like in terms of word count, and when I finished, I looked and it was about 4,000 words, which is cool. It also definitely derailed from the little outline that I had in place. It started out similar. I kind of like tried to steer it back into what my original idea was, but it definitely veered. But it was only through writing it that I also had some other little epiphanies, like double entendre kind of thing, like a more nuanced idea of what we're looking at. Going into it, I was thinking it would be very heavy on the agoraphobia, which kind of it is, and then more on the parasocial relationships, which kind of it is. I think in a subsequent draft of this, maybe that's something I might emphasize more. I guess it depends on when I reread it and then see what I think of it. But in what I was just writing now, it actually had a lot more emphasis on religion and faith than I thought it would. I mean, it kind of makes sense because I do have an element of that in what I was thinking. I feel like the very end of it is like a little sweet. And I don't know if that's completely right, but like I said, I will reread it and there will be more drafts of it, I'm sure. But I have the first rough draft of it done. Something to work with, which makes me happy. Also, that means I can go work on one of my novels. But also, short stories, it's like kind of awesome and epic actually, because you can write something and then be done with it. To just sit there and then have it done in basically a day. I mean, this video took a lot longer than a day, but most of the writing of it happened in just a few hours, which is pretty cool. You're not finishing the first draft of any novels in a few hours. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.